Hey everyone, and welcome back to The Explainer. Today, we're unpacking a really fascinating situation stemming from the Prime Minister's recent national address. We're going to look at the tension, really the paradox, between trying to save national dollars and the undeniable reality of our modern global dependencies. We'll be examining how a straightforward call for national economic discipline is actually sparking a massive conversation about structural reality, especially when it comes to our heavily reliant digital and AI world.
Here is our roadmap for today. We'll start with the patriotic austerity appeal, then move to the everyday contradictions, the tech infrastructure paradox, foreign AI dependency, true economic independence, and we'll wrap up with trust versus economic reality.
Okay, Section 1, the patriotic austerity appeal, or the call to protect India's economy. Let's dive right into this. To really understand the current debate, we first have to understand the specific requests that were just made to the public.
So the message delivered to citizens was incredibly clear and direct. The Prime Minister asked Indians to reduce their fuel usage, to actively avoid buying gold for a year, to focus on spending locally, and ultimately to protect India's economy during this period of intense global uncertainty. Now, on paper, this sounds highly patriotic. It's a classic rallying cry for citizens to band together and shield the national economy by keeping money inside the country. But here is the catch. The source material we're analyzing today makes a really pivotal observation. It states, but if we practically analyze the situation, there are many contradictions. And honestly, that right there is the crux of our entire explainer today. We're going to move past the political expectation, and we're going to look at the practical, structural reality of what actually happens when you ask a highly connected, modern society to just suddenly halt its spending.
Which brings us to Section 2. The everyday contradictions, expectation versus reality. You see, citizens are incredibly observant, and they're starting to notice an immediate, glaring gap between what's being asked of them and what's actively happening around them. Let's consider the stark visual contrast happening on the ground right now. On one side, citizens are being told to use public transport, right? Save fuel, reduce the dollars flowing out of the country for oil. But on the flip side, what are people actually seeing in their day-to-day lives? They're looking at massive political rallies, they're seeing hundreds of cars and VIP convoys, enormous security fleets, bike rallies, and massive roadshows. Whenever politicians travel, entire roads get blocked off, and fuel is just burned continuously. So naturally, people are asking a very simple, logical question. Why should the public sacrifice and take the bus when the leaders themselves aren't visibly reducing their own excess? And we see the exact same dynamic playing out when it comes to gold. Citizens are being asked to pause buying gold. But middle-class families in India usually don't just buy gold on a whim. They buy it for weddings, for long-term family savings, for financial security, and for deep-rooted cultural traditions. Meanwhile, the importation of high-end luxury goods continues totally unabated. VIP spending continues, and overall government expenditure remains exceptionally high. The sentiment bubbling up here is that economic discipline should really start from the top down, not just be a burden pushed from the middle class up. Let's shift gears to Section 3, the tech infrastructure paradox, also known as the digital dollar drain. We're going to see how this builds, because while gold and fuel are visible, highly physical things, there is an invisible drain happening that is so much harder to stop. People are being told to avoid foreign spending to protect the national dollar. But it's fascinating, and a bit daunting, to trace the actual journey of a digital dollar. Take the smartphone in your hand right now. It operates on an entirely imported ecosystem. Even completely domestic businesses operating locally in India depend totally on foreign-controlled software. Think about it. Every single time a business uses cloud storage or sends an email through a corporate suite or runs a digital ad, dollars are flowing straight outward to companies like Google, Apple, Microsoft, NVIDIA, OpenAI, Meta, and AWS. Our entire digital heartbeat is hosted on foreign servers and processed by foreign chips. So I really want you to pause and think about this for a second. With our entire technological foundation structured in this exact way, can India realistically reduce its dollar dependency overnight simply by asking regular consumers to stop spending? The stark, unavoidable answer is no. Absolutely not. Avoiding foreign spending is practically impossible when our very digital backbone relies entirely on foreign systems. You just cannot decouple a modern economy from the global digital grid purely through willpower or a temporary pause in buying physical goods. That flows right into Section 4, foreign AI dependency, the backbone of the startup hub. This brings us to the deepest, most fascinating contradiction highlighted in our source material today: our absolute dependence on foreign artificial intelligence infrastructure. This breakdown brilliantly illustrates the sheer scale of the situation.
India is a booming AI and startup hub, right? We have incredible Indian startups building next-generation applications. But what are they actually using to build them? Well, the large language models like ChatGPT and other foundational AI tools are mostly American. The massive cloud storage and raw computing power required to train these models, rented from foreign companies. The semiconductor chips physically sitting inside those servers, mostly foreign. The GPUs, the graphics processing units from companies like NVIDIA that are literally the lifeblood of the entire AI revolution, foreign-controlled. Even the operating systems that everything runs on are largely foreign-controlled. So the crucial takeaway here is that simply telling people, don't spend dollars, completely ignores the reality that to build a modern AI-driven economy, India currently has no choice but to import its digital tools. Our startup success is literally tethered to a massive, continuous outflow of dollars.
So, Section 5, True Economic Independence, moving beyond public appeals. If we actually want to stop that outflow, we have to look past temporary austerity measures. We need real structural solutions.
The source material lays out exactly what genuine economic independence actually requires, step by step. Step 1 is massive manufacturing growth, actually building the hardware locally on our own soil. Step 2 is semiconductor independence. Now, this is incredibly difficult and expensive, but it's absolutely necessary so we aren't relying on imported chips for every piece of technology we use. Step 3 is developing native Indian AI infrastructure, our own foundational models, our own massive server farms. Step 4 is creating stronger exports to help balance out the trade deficit. And finally, Step 5 is the glue that holds all of this together, long-term policy execution. None of this can be achieved through a one-year public pause on buying gold. It's a whole different ballgame. It requires decades of deep, structural, and committed policy work.
Finally, Section 6, Trust versus Economic Reality, the core of the debate. When we zoom all the way back out, we realize that this entire conversation isn't really about gold or fuel or even semiconductors. Fundamentally, it's about the clash between emotional nationalism and practical economics. Really, it's about trust. There are two very distinct, very valid sides to this debate. Side A makes it totally fair point. During difficult global economic situations, citizens absolutely should rally and support their country. But side B is equally powerful. You simply cannot ask everyday people to live with financial restrictions and make sacrifices while the political system continues to operate with highly visible excess. If leaders want sacrifice from citizens, the citizens are going to demand a visible sacrifice from the leadership. It has to be a two-way street. And that is because of this absolute truth. Modern India is no longer driven by emotion alone. It is observant, it is highly digital, and it questions contradictions instantly. People have smartphones. They compare actions with words in real time. Public trust is incredibly fragile, especially when deep structural tech dependencies and highly visible political excesses so directly contradict the patriotic economic requests being made of the common citizen. So I want to turn it over to you and leave you with this final, provocative thought directly from the source material. What do you think? Is this call to austerity a necessary, patriotic step to protect the country during a global crisis? Or is it an unrealistic appeal that completely ignores the deeply connected, dollar-dependent economic and technological reality of our world today? I really want to know your perspective, so drop your thoughts in the comments below. And if you want to keep exploring deep, structured breakdowns of global trends and the economy just like this one, make sure to like, share, and subscribe. Thanks so much for learning with me today, and I'll catch you in the next explainer.